On this episode of the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino, we give you what we're watching for in OU Tennessee. Then Austin Price joins us to talk some more Tennessee. We preview the best games of week 4 of college football, and we give you our winners and losers of the week. Please download and subscribe to the podcast, rate it 5 stars, and write us a good review. Follow the show on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. Just search Oklahoma Breakdown on any of those, and you'll find us. All right. Our man Michael Hosty will kick this thing off. It's time for the Oklahoma Breakdown. It's a beautiful Wednesday, September 18th, and you're listening to the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino. Tennessee fans, yeah, we know you're listening. Riverwind, it's close to the stadium. Go have some fun there. You'll have a good time. Riverwind is Oklahoma City's premier casino experience, and there are so many reasons why Riverwind is consistently voted the OKC Metro's #1 casino, but it all starts with their amazing variety of gaming thrills and excitement. Riverwind's beautiful award-winning environment plays host to more than 2,800 of the latest electronic games with a huge selection of table games, including blackjack, match roulette, and Teddy's favorite, craps. No matter what your game, Riverwind has it in spades and hearts. And to learn more about their gaming promotions and entertainment options in the month of September, all you got to do is visit riverwind.com. Riverwind Casino, good times, great rewards. Big one.
Yes, sir. Very
Big
big.
one. This is why you come to Oklahoma.
Yes.
It's why they took the program to the SEC.
Yes.
Games like this, prime time, everyone in the country watching college game day. What else could you ask for as a player and as a fan? This is what it's all about, baby. Let's go.
It's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. We've got to play well, though. I mean, that's we got to play by far our best football game of the season.
No doubt about it. And the fans need to show up in a massive way because for a variety of reasons. Like Tennessee's really good on offense. It needs to be difficult for them to communicate. It needs to be difficult for Nico to hear his little speaker in his headset. It needs to be difficult for the offensive line to communicate the call all the way from the center out to the tackle. It needs to be difficult for Nico to communicate to the line. Like that has to be a constant challenge for them. And that is how the fans can affect the football game. And there's also this. There are going to be a bunch of Tennessee fans at this game. And this is where OU fans start developing their reputation in the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
And the question is, what do you want that reputation to be? I think the fans are going to show up in a massive way, Ted. I'm not worried about it, but they can affect the football game, and they need to affect the football
100%.
game.
100%. This is an up-tempo team, and they have been since Heupel's been there. And they've struggled on the road. And I have to believe that there's some type of correlation there that, the louder it is, the more difficult the environment, the harder it is to go fast, stay efficient, communicate, have everyone on the same page. So that absolutely has to be a weapon for us. And I'm with you. I ain't even worried about that. I expect this crowd. I think that it's going to be the best environment we've seen in a really long time.
Let's get into it. What are you watching from OU's defense against a high-powered Tennessee offense?
Yeah. Well, we've seen this style of offense, a handful of times. What's good is last year, the year before, and to a degree this year, there's a lot of carryover. I mean, there's a lot of similarities between Jeff Lebby's offense and what Josh Heupel does. And so we've seen that, we've defended that. And there's going to be some nuance to it and differences, absolutely. But first and foremost, you have to stop the run. You have to. That's how this thing operates. They run it, they run it, they run it. They build off of it and go to the RPO, tons of RPO stuff, tons of play action, pushing the ball down the field. But it all starts with getting that run going, and it's mainly almost all counter, right? Some version of counter. They'll do it out of a bunch of different formations. They'll do it out of different personnel. They'll they'll add the quarterback to the mix, reading the backside. They'll have the quarterback run the counter off of some of the other hand looks. I believe that it's actually a pretty good matchup for our defensive line against their offensive line. I think we should be able to control the line of scrimmage, and with what we've got at backer and how we've played, I expect us to do pretty well against the run. I mean, you have to we're going to add to our defensive game plan. There's no doubt in my mind. We've been pretty vanilla through the first 3 games, which is standard. There's going to be a lot of stuff that Tennessee has not seen in this game. With that, you have to know how to adjust all of those new defenses, how you fit counter out of all the different formations possible in those new defenses. So, I mean, we're going to gain an advantage, I think, with an expanded playbook on defense, but it opens us up to more mistakes. Our guys have to be dialed in how they fit the runs. You go watch NC State, who defended Tennessee pretty well for a decent portion of that football game, even though they had no idea how to fit the runs. Just incredibly soft as a pillow on the second level with their backers. Lay as you could possibly be at safety, and tackling as bad as possible at corner. All of those things combined, they still defended Tennessee well for a big portion of that football game. So I think the matchup it's there for us. We have to play well. We have to be dialed in. But given all those things that I saw in that NC State game, I think we can stop the run without piling a ton of bodies into the box.
That's going to be the key.
Mm-hmm.
If Tennessee can run it efficiently, if that offensive line is generating movement like they have, it's going to be a long day for OU's defense. But if you can win more battles than you lose in those situations, and you can get Nico in this offense into some predictable passing situations, that's where I think we're going to see Zach Alley and Brent Venables dial up some things that we haven't seen this season. Whether that's pressure or that's coverage. And you have to get Iamaleava into those situations and confuse him. While he is accurate, he does miss high quite a bit. And
he stares it down like most young quarterbacks do.
So you have to put him in those situations, and then that will allow you to disguise some things on the back end in coverage, and hopefully he throws you one or two.
Yeah.
The defense needs to force a couple turnovers in this game.
Yeah.
I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, 100%. If you stop the run, you put them in the predictable spots, that's where you want to be. The passing game is interesting for them. They have RPO built in to everything. You get a ton of RPO. So, they're going to spread you by way of that at all times. They love to push it down the field. They, if you're in man, they love pick routes, but they don't pick at the line of scrimmage. They pick like 8 or 9 yards down the field, and they're good at it. It's about as borderline as you could possibly be without getting called, but they do a really good job on those. They hit NC State on like a pop pass. They were hitting them with the shovel pass stuff, a couple of screens. So they were changing some things up to help, generate a little bit of, passing game where you're not putting it all on your quarterback. Some easy ways to get him get him moving early with some high percentage completions. So you've got to be tuned up and ready for all of those things. Uh, the biggest problem area that I'm worried about is the deep digs. We talked about it in the weeds. We showed one that we had, and it was a sack for us, but they ran a deep dig on one side of the field, and we were in okay position, but not great. They are really good at running them. They'll run. You'll have like a under from one side and the deep dig opposite. They'll do it where you have the under first and then the follow deep dig behind it. They'll run double deep digs off of just regular play action and get
And,
it out of the
and
quarterback's
Nico
hands.
and Nico likes that throw.
He does. Yep.
He goes to it like if it's there, that's the throw he wants to make. Like he's
Yep.
very comfortable pushing it into that area of the field, which not every young quarterback is.
Right. And that's where he threw the interception against NC State was on one of those routes. And he's like you said, well, he stares it down, which is a problem, but he's good at throwing that guy open because those digs, you look like you're covered the whole time. You're covered by the corner. You come out of the break, the hook player is on the inside of it, and you throw it way over here inside the hook player. Your guy runs all the way around behind it and makes a play. And he's good at throwing those guys open. But that's to me, that is, you worry about the go balls down the sidelines. Our corners have been pretty good on that stuff. But those deep digs in the middle of the field, if we can do a good job on those, I think we can do a really good job overall. That's one of the big problem areas that we've had. But I expect Venables to. I mean, there's always going to be a good mix, but I think he's going to try and heat him up with some exotic coverages on the back end. I also think that we're going to show that we're bringing everyone, and we're going to drop eight. Whenever you can get a good mix of they don't know where the pressure's coming from, and you can drop all those guys out, and it all looks the same, that's when young quarterbacks get into a lot of trouble.
I think it's going to be critically important that OU's corners play well.
Mm-hmm.
And I know everyone's worried about Tennessee running by them. And by the way, Tennessee is huge at wide receiver.
Yeah.
Like two guys are 6'5", McCoy's 6'3". They got size and speed. But yes, you can't let guys run right by you. That's obvious. You can't give up a bunch of those huge chunk plays. They're going to give up some, but you can't give up the absolute home run.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's going to be critical that OU's corners play with an extreme level of physicality in the RPO stuff because Nico is going to rise up and throw it to the outside right now several times in this football game. And the corners are going to have to get off the blocks of these big wide receivers and make those minimal games. If Nico can rise up and turn and throw that stuff on the outside for 5 and 6 yards a pop, that's a big problem.
Yep.
Those need to be 2 yards, not 5, not 6. Because if it's 5 and 6, then they're going to be on schedule all game long. And then if they're on schedule, they are a very, very difficult offense to defend.
Yep.
Corner,
100%.
the physicality at corner, and just getting guys off you and making tackles in space. Like that has to happen in this game for Oklahoma.
I agree. And that's been one of the things that we have been excellent at since Venables has been here. Our corners have done, when healthy, our corners have been really good at that. And Heupel knows that. So be ready for the pump and go stuff off of that. When you've got the two receivers out there and this guy steps back and this guy blocks, be ready for this guy to step back, this guy to fake the block, and then whoop, up the field he goes. when you're as aggressive as we are at the line of scrimmage on that stuff, you do open yourself up to some of those things. So got to be tuned up and ready for that.
Think if we can get Tennessee into obvious passing situations, how do you feel about the rush getting to Nico?
I
Tennessee's O
like the
line's good.
matchups.
It's a good
Yeah,
group.
they are. I like the matchup. Now, we have not been a great, just straight up pass rushing team until last week whenever our Mason Thomas went off. I think he's found some confidence. I expect more of the same from him. Obviously, it's going to be more difficult against the Tennessee team, that I, they try to keep everyone off their quarterback by getting the ball out of his hands fairly quickly, and they max pro quite a bit too with their tight ends and their backs. But when we get opportunities, we have to do a good job. Like I think that we'll be able to pressure him when we blitz, but I think whenever we just go a 3 or 4 man rush, I'm almost a little bit I'm more concerned with missing rush lanes and letting him get out with his legs. Like if if you can get him into some third and longs and make him beat you from the pocket, hey, I'm down. And that's going to be the only time you get a chance to rush him, really. Everything else is going to be off RPO, play action, keeping tight ends and backs in. The only time you're going to get like a straight, really good opportunity for 4 man rush is third and 8 to 12. And whenever you're in that situation, like I'm more worried about him pulling it down and beating us with the run. So I I think the pressure is going to come from dialed up blitzes. But if we can have someone go off and win those battles, or Mason Thomas have another game like he did, that would go a long ways for us.
It absolutely would. Anything else? OU's defense against Tennessee's offense.
I'll just say that the more I've watched it, the better I feel. Um, we have to play really good. We cannot give them anything free. You can't give them any free chunk plays down the field. You have to tackle well in the running game. You have to contain the quarterback and not give him wide open, easy access to go pick up a first down with his legs. But I think there's a lot of matchups with our defense on the field against their offense that I like. And the crowd, the communication, all of that is going to help us a lot. Like when you have a good defense, that's when your crowd matters. So right now, that should be, I call it the 12th man, call it whatever you want. That needs to be a big aid to our defense, and I think they'll play really well.
I love it. All right, let's talk about OU's offense against Tennessee's defense. But first, fuel your journey at Love's Travel Stops and save 10 cents per gallon on gas and auto diesel. Download the Love's Connect app today. It takes just seconds to unlock savings when you scan your barcode in the app at the pump. This discount and other mobile deals on drinks and snacks are available at more than 640 Love's locations across the country. Before your next trip, download the Love's Connect app, your guide to savings on the road.
Oh, you tailgaters, listen up. We are now officially in the premium conference of college football, and you expect a premium product on the field and on the grill. That's why you need Didier Ranch's steak burgers to take your tailgate to the next level. Proudly raised in Oklahoma for over 120 years, premium beef this good is hard to come by. Go to DidierRanch.com. That's DIDIER, ranch.com. Use promo code Oklahoma15 for 15% off your order. Didier Ranch, tradition plays better and tastes better.
We are brought to you by Simple Modern, the Oklahoma-owned drinkware company that is now the official drinkware partner of the Oklahoma Sooners. And listen to this. Simple Modern is creating unique, exclusive in-game drinkware, which will be new at every home game. Grab your never-before-seen OU Sooners refillable, reusable cups at OU's concessions all season long. And with 10% of all Simple Modern profits going to charity, many right here in Oklahoma, you'll also know you're helping Oklahomans off the field as well. Simple Modern, good everywhere. Things to watch for OU's offense versus Tennessee's defense. First of all, Tennessee's defensive line is the best defensive line OU has seen since Alabama in the 2018 Orange Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Size, strength, explosiveness, depth. James Pierce is clearly the big name guy. Going to be an early pick in the draft. But I really like some of the interior guys. So it is going to be a heck of a challenge for OU's offensive line and tight ends, no matter who's playing out there. Whether they get Hickman back for some snaps, or get Taylor back for some snaps in this game, it's going to be a challenge for whoever is out there for Oklahoma. One thing, and this is something that drives me crazy about the clap snap count, you got to switch up the count. And it's hard to do when you're just clapping as your snap count, but whatever they can come up with, one clap, two claps, three claps, double quick claps, whatever. You got to switch it up. You cannot let this defensive line get in a rhythm coming off the rock because they can come off the rock. You have to help the offensive line out and use the snap count as a weapon. That needs to be emphasized. Like, you can't just go one clap and let these guys time it up and blow off the football. It just that is not something that's going to help you at all. You need to use the snap count as your advantage. Ted, I'm wrestling with tempo versus playing slow in this game because you need to challenge Tennessee's defense's ability to communicate. You got to make them talk. There's a lot of snaps on tape in their 3 games where defensive lines turning around looking at the linebackers going, what's the call? There's some confusion there that I've seen. So part of me thinks, hey, bunch of different personnel groupings, shifts, motions, trades. Like, throw all of that stuff at them and make them talk. But you can't play fast and do that. And I do think when the other team maybe's got you at the line of scrimmage, that playing fast can be your friend and not letting them substitute and not letting them get to that depth and use that to their advantage. If you go fast, they can't sub the interior of that defensive line. They want to play like 10 guys. It may be best to say, hey, let's get this first down and let's roll. Let's play fast. Now, Tennessee's defense is clearly used to that. Their offense plays at a ridiculous tempo. They're not going to be uncomfortable, but it will prevent them from using all of that depth, which is something that they think is a big advantage. So what do you think? Do you find a blend of the two somehow? Maybe you do all that stuff on early downs. Then once you get the first down, you go fast and you don't let them sub. But I've wrestled back and forth with, and I feel like everyone knows how I feel about the hyper tempo stuff.
Yeah.
But in a game like this, I do think not letting them sub and get and use that depth they have on their defensive line, I think that is something that you need to try to take advantage of.
Well, first of all, strategically, I would say that if you're having success and you're running the football okay, you're finding some stuff in the passing game, like what you're doing, like you're moving the football, then I'd say, yeah, use some tempo. If you're struggling moving the ball, yards are very difficult to come by. We need to slow this game way down. That's kind of my first thought. And then the other thing is, so do you think I think on a series, it can help us, but over the duration, they're a lot deeper than we are. on the like our offensive line compared like I guess is there a when do you pass a point of it's no longer beneficial and what you're trying to do to them you're doing more to yourself.
No, that's fair.
But I think you have to be having success offensively in order to get to that. So I think if there's opportunities to hit the gas on those guys and you've got something rolling, then yeah.
When you do play with tempo, you better be in your personnel grouping you feel the best about.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's 11 with Bauer Sharp out there at the tight end spot, or that's 12 with Sharp and Roberts out there. If you're going to go tempo, you're just going to have to roll with one personnel grouping because if you sub at wide receiver or tight end, like they get the chance to match. And then that's when they'll rotate those defensive linemen. So I don't know. Part of me thinks that you can't tempo your way to a victory in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Tennessee's defense is used to it, and you're just gonna have to throw a lot at them, make them communicate, and then go out execute them.
Yeah. No, I agree.
I don't think there's any shortcuts to winning this football game.
Agree. It could be a tool that you go to at times, but I don't know that you're going to live in it and get any like big time results over the entire football game.
Right. Some run game thoughts. We saw the run game last week against Tulane expand. You saw variations of counter. You saw them run stretch. You saw them run the inside zone variations, zone slice. You saw them run out of 21 personnel, with the two backs, dialed up some QB run game along with some read run game. That's gap scheme and zone for the QB run game. Even saw them run one pin pull play. That
Yes.
it brought it. Wee Woo's got to have his eyes on the backer. That's your guy, man. But it is, there was a lot more in the run game last week for Oklahoma. So the question is, what's going to work against this Tennessee defensive line? And I think OU's best way to have success running the football is to attack the edges of the defense. I don't think they're going to get a lot accomplished with the inside zone play against this interior for Tennessee.
Mm-mm.
They've struggled to move Houston and Tulane, and they're going to move Tennessee. It's hard to believe, right?
Agreed.
And they ran stretch, 4 or 5 times in the Tulane game, and it looked good. And I think getting this big, powerful defensive line for Tennessee to have to react and move laterally is your best chance. And so they had some success running the stretch play against Tulane. I like the play. They run zone slice, right, with the tight end coming back across the formation to block the end man of the line of scrimmage. They take a bit of a wider kind of mid-zone track at some points when they run that play. I think that could be good. I think they could do something similar with zone insert, right? Kind of a wider track on the front side, man that tackle on the backside, insert the tight end onto that backside linebacker. But you have to make this defensive line move. You got to make them go lateral. If you just allow them to fire off the football, I don't think those combinations are going to go well. So that is, as I watch Tennessee's defense and I look at some of the stuff that Oklahoma's done up to this point, I think that's where the most success could come running the football. And if you do have success, that's when you can kind of split the defense with counter.
Yeah.
And get to some of that stuff, right? Where they're thinking, okay, hey, we got to be ready. Here comes zone. We got to run. And then you're into your gap scheme stuff. You got to have a blend of it all. Don't get me wrong. But I do not think the inside zone play is going to be very effective against this football team. I think my strategy would be, hey, let's attack the edges of the defense.
Yeah. No,
Make them move.
I totally agree. And I like the pin pull stuff too. I mean, it's easy. It's the easiest way to make it a contest of how good is your secondary and backers compared to how good is your interior defense. Like we know they're going to be good on the inside. If you can quickly get outside and gain the edge and then try and go to work out there, that could take the teeth out of their specialty pretty quickly. So no, I think you're right.
Think Jackson Arnold's going to have to be a pretty big factor in the run game.
Yep.
Got to have an extra hat in the blocking scheme. I think the six guys that they play in their core and their defense, I think they're really good.
Mm-hmm.
And QB run game, it just changes the math. And Arnold has shown toughness up to this point, but he's going to need to be smart. Going to need to be smart in those situations. But I do think that you got to have him. I mean, it's college game day. It's primetime ABC. You've got to put it all on the line, man. And I expect Jackson Arnold to do that. I do think looking at some of the gap scheme stuff and even the backside of some of the zone stuff, I do think they can double team 21 and get movement.
Mm-hmm.
Now he is a big dude. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Amari Thomas. I mean, he looks enormous on tape. I think he's listed at 330, but he plays high. You got to be able to move guys to play high. So I'm interested to see if that they target him a little bit with some of their double teams to create some movement at the point of attack. And then they play corner type body types at their nickel position. And I'm awfully interested to see if 5 and 23 can tackle in space. So you got to make Christian Harrison be in the fit. You got to bring him into the core, and you got to make him do the harder part of the position. Get in the run fit and get guys on the ground. The guys that he can cover. I mean, their nickel spot, they can cover, but can they tackle? You got to make them tackle. Those are all my run game thoughts.
Well, I'll just add one more piece to it, and I mean, I think it's included in the run game, but I think the jet sweep is, and I know fans feel a certain way about it. I do at times as well, but I actually think it should be a big play for us this week. Like we're talking about trying to find ways to mitigate the damage that their defensive line can do, and if you can get the ball to Deion Burks and get him quickly on the edge in space against their nickels and their safeties, I I think that's a better, you got a better chance of hitting on something big or moving the chains on that than you do just going straight at the teeth of their defense. So, I mean, obviously you got to have a good mix of all of these things that we're talking about, but that's one that I feel like could be a weapon.
I'm with you. Some pass game thoughts. I think the secondary is the weakness of their defense. It's honestly hard to tell how good they are. They haven't been tested really at all this season, but I do think you got James Pierce, who is arguably the premier pass rusher in college football. You're going to have to move the launch point for Jackson Arnold. You're going to have to chip. I would chip him early, running backs, tight ends, get him looking for it early. Plant that seed early to where he's kind of, those eyes are wandering the rest of the football game. But you got to move the launch point for Jackson Arnold because this group from Tennessee, they can rush the passer. So you got to move the pocket some. I do think their linebackers react really strongly to run action. So Jackson Arnold, he needs to be comfortable throwing the ball in the middle of the field. There will be space, whether it's Burks, Bauer Sharp, and we saw him make some of those throws against Tulane, but I think that their linebackers, they want to come downhill and make plays. And if you can get them to step up, you have to make them pay for that aggressiveness. You got to be able to throw it in behind them. So I think there will be some of those situations. You have to connect on some explosive plays in this game.
Yep.
We have not seen this offense be able to do that. I don't care if you have to max protect and run two-man routes. You got to take some shots down the field and you have to connect on some because Tennessee is going to connect on some. It can't be one of those situations. You're not just going to put 12, 13, 14 play drives against this defense. They're too good. You you have to have some chunk plays. Which brings me to a point that I just have to bring up. They're playing a white guy at safety. Physical
He a
player.
walk on?
I think former walk on. I
Former
think his
walk
name's
on,
Will
yeah.
Brooks, number 35. I
Mhm.
like what I've seen from the guy. Like the guy does his job at a high level, but he's a white guy playing safety. Nothing against the young man. Let's just be real though. Really sticks out on tape when you see it.
Yeah.
You got to test him. You got to create. You have to create things offensively with formations where you get one on ones with him. It is what it is. You got
Yeah.
to see if the guy can cover. He can tackle. He's physical. He comes down into the box, adds that. He becomes like their seventh element on some of the bigger personnel stuff, and he's physical. He's a good player, but let's see how
And
well he runs.
yeah. Yeah, I like that. I like what we've done, getting to some of the quick spot routes to get Burks and Bauer Sharp involved, just little quick option route stuff. But I I think we have to find a way to incorporate running back screens or like even shovel pass something to slow down the rush. And I don't think that we can sit there and protect and do our traditional drop back pass game. And I just don't think Jackson Arnold's going to have very much time. I think he's going to get panicked. And I don't know. I would like to see us keep them off balance and hit them with screens and hit them with something to slow the rush down, like an old school traditional draw. I don't know what it is, but you have to find a way to slow that rush down.
It's like you're reading my mind. Pass pro thoughts. Early in the game, got to throw a few screens, and you got to sprinkle in some cut protection. I mentioned Chip and Pierce. Got to do that as well. But these guys love to come off the football and rush the passer. Well, cut them.
Mm-hmm.
And all it takes is a couple times to get these guys thinking because they really come off the football. Cut them. Just create that slight hesitation. And that will help you the rest of the football game. Only other pass pro thought is be ready for Bear with the mic on the ball in obvious passing situations, whether that's second and long or third and long, third and medium to long. It's something that our defense does, right? When Stutzman walks up and he's the Mike linebacker on the ball, they do it just how OU does it. They they make the move call, they stem to it. Do not jump when they make the move call. If I were them, I'd get into that Bear front quite a bit. And I just want to create 5 1-on-ones across the board. And if that's not how OU wants to block it, if they don't go 5-0 and just have 5 1-on-ones across the board, then you're going slide protection, and that means you're keeping the back end. So you're winning the numbers battle if you're Tennessee. So I would get in quite a bit of that Bear front if I were them, and just see if my guys can go win their individual battles against OU's offensive line.
Yeah.
We'll see. I suppose you could slide the protection to Pierce and insert the back on the backside to the mic. That may be what they end up doing, but if if I were if I were Tennessee, I'd get to quite a bit of that
Yeah.
before I got to any of my pressure stuff, if that makes sense. I'd see how that looked. Like, hey, can we just go win with most likely 5 1-on-ones across the board?
Yeah. And then you can always, we do a good job of presenting that look and dropping out, bringing pressure from it, 4-man rush, 5-man rush, all kinds of different mix and match stuff. So it's a good little change up.
The only other thing I have is if one of their defensive tackles is in a tight shade, edge pressure is coming. It's clear as day. If I know that, OU's offensive line needs to know that.
Yeah. What, just running an opposite
Yeah.
rip and then off the edge?
Yeah. Off the edge, whether it's Mike, Will, Nickel. If you got a guy in a tight shade, alarm bells should go off. I think it's 100% of the time on tape. Alarm bells should go off. Let's get to call your shot. We asked you guys the number one thing you will be watching for in OU Tennessee. This first one comes from Chad P. Smith, who says clock management. Don't rush drives unless needed. Allows the defense to get a break, which will be critical against a good Tennessee offense. And also the compounding effect of tiring out Tennessee.
Yeah.
Ted, do you have any strong thoughts on clock management?
We got to be great at it. I mean, that's we that's the one thing. There's a formula to win this football game. With the defense playing really well, win special teams, try and create maybe a big play or two on special teams, force a turnover or two with your defense, play smart, efficient football on offense, try and hit on a couple of big plays, but most importantly, don't penalize yourself, stay out of third and forever, and don't turn the football over. And if you can manage the clock, manage the game everywhere else, you can find yourself with an opportunity to win the game in the fourth quarter. But if we screw up, penalizing ourselves, drop passes, taking, not managing the timeout situation, managing the clock situation properly, not turning a field goal into a punt like we did. Like those things are going to get you beat this week. Like any one of them individually. I'm not talking about all of them together like we've seen throughout the season. Like any one of those things individually is probably going to be enough to get you beat. So we have to be really dialed in on all the details this week. There's no way around it.
Very well said. All right, let's learn a little more about the Tennessee Volunteers from Austin Price. But first,
Schwab Meat has been smoking the highest quality meats, hot dogs, and sausages in OKC since 1912. Go to schwabmeat.com to order any of Schwab's outstanding products and use promo code OKBreakdown for free shipping on orders over $75. Schwab dogs are iconic. We like to keep it simple. Bun, dog, mustard, ketchup.
are you ketchup on the dog guy?
Yeah.
Oh, me too. Good.
Yeah,
Good.
absolutely. Also, the jalapeno cheddar smoked sausage is outstanding. SchwabMeat.com, code OKBreakdown for free shipping on orders over $75. Schwab Meat, the official hot dog of game days.
And three things matter in banking: service, and service. And First Fidelity Bank's commitment to exceptional service is more than a promise. It's their foundation. FFB has been by your side for over a century, and they are honored to be a part of your journey. Banking isn't about where you've been, it's about where you're headed. Open an account at an award-winning bank today at ffb.com. At First Fidelity Bank, we go where you go.
And head to the garage for hand smashed patties, butter toasted buns, and ice cold beer. It's the perfect spot to watch any big game. And with all the garage locations being open to 10 p.m. or later every night, it's the go-to late night spot. Visit eatatthegarage.com to find a location near you and order online from the garage in your neighborhood.
All right, here's Austin Price talking Tennessee. It is our pleasure to be joined by the heart and soul of Volquest.com. Austin Price is in the house. How's it going, man?
I'm great, guys. How are you guys doing? I mean, it's been this week just seems like it's dragging along. Can we get to Saturday? And then, of course, it's a night game.
Yeah, that's going to be a long wait Saturday for those big night games. As a player, it feels like you're in the hotel for a year.
Yeah, and I think part of the new SEC ABC package, if you're winning and both these teams are undefeated, you're more than likely to play a lot of night games. So get used to it. Whereas like the old SEC package, the marquee game was 3:30 and you didn't have to wait as long. Well, now the
Well,
marquee
you ain't
game.
got to tell us we played like 80% 11 a.m. kicks for the last 7 or 8 years.
See, this, Tennessee loves that because Heupel's a morning practice team. What's Oklahoma? Is Oklahoma a morning practice team?
No,
Afternoon.
they're the old school schedule.
See, Heupel loves that. So, like when Tennessee went to LSU 2 years ago, like the team was ready, whereas like all the LSU fans, they were just now waking up. They hadn't even had their first beer yet, so like they hadn't had a chance to even get a buzz. And Tennessee's already up by 20.
That's awesome. All right, let's start on the offensive side of the ball for the Vols. The the headliners, Nico. What have you seen from the young quarterback so far this season?
The ability to fit the ball into tight windows. Has he been flawless? No. I mean, he's had a few freshman mistakes. I mean, even last week against Kent State, like he threw an incredible pass to Chaz Nimrod on about a 35-yard, in route, and then threw and dropped a dime to Chris Brazel. But then he threw a few clunkers too. I mean, he's a freshman. He's going to make mistakes, just like Jackson Arnold. I mean, which young quarterback makes the fewest amount of mistakes in this game? They're going to have a few clunker throws, and you just have to kind of hopefully minimize that. Nico's not been on the road before, and his demeanor is one that's kind of like Hendon Hooker, never too high, never too low, depending on what's going on in the game. He's kind of steady Eddie, so I do think that benefits him, but he's not done it to this point, so you don't know. You don't know how he's going to react if Brent Venables brings a corner blitz on the third play. You just don't know what's going to happen until it happens, and so I like the promise that is Nico, but he's still a young, inexperienced quarterback that's trying to grow. But having that running game alongside him does help him grow.
Now, having said that, how do you expect Heupel to handle him? First road game, he's young. He's made a handful of mistakes, which expected. Do you think the game plan, at least early, is going to be a little more conservative because of the defense they're facing? It's going to be the best they've seen by a million miles. So like there's got to be maybe a little bit of thought to that in the game plan.
Yeah, I think it depends on how Oklahoma wants to defend Tennessee. If they come out and their goal is to put 7 or 8 in the box and stop Dylan Sampson in the ground game and put their secondary on an island and say, okay, young quarterback, let's see what you got. I think Tennessee will be comfortable enough and is comfortable enough to throw the football and go to the air. I don't think they're just going to run into a 7 or 8 man front just because. So I think they trust him enough to where like they'll let him go and try to make plays at least early in the football game and kind of see how that chess match is kind of figuring it out. If you look at the versatility of the offense, even just this year, like the 12 personnel you saw against NC State. Then last week they do something they've not done since Hype's been here, and that they go 4 wide because Mike Matthews is back off of that hamstring injury. So just showing a little bit here and there makes me think, okay, they're ready for whatever Oklahoma throws at them, whether it's load the box and make Nico beat them, or if Oklahoma wants to sit back and try to get home with lighter fronts and try to stop them run with lighter fronts, they're very comfortable running the football as well.
Yeah, you saw him go 4 wide, and then you saw him go 12 personnel, 2 tight ends on the field. So they can do a little bit of everything personnel wise. Austin, the offensive line. I think it's a really good group. I love Cooper Mays at the center position. Everyone healthy for this game. I know that it seems like they kept Lance Hurd out last week kind of as a precautionary measure.
Yeah.
Like what's the health status of that offensive line? Are they going to be full go with all their starters for this football game?
Full go with all the starters. Andre Keurig's healthy at left guard. Coop's healthy. The only one that's banged up a little bit is Sham Umarov, who's a backup guard. Lance Hurd is healthy. He could have played a week ago, had kind of a low ankle type deal, but they just chose to set him out, rehab. He's back. He's good. And John Campbell has been a little bit limited in fall camp with kind of like a calf deal. And so like he played more last week, and when he's not played, he's rotated with Dane Davis, who's, 60 or senior, big kind of burly mountain, former walk on, who has played a lot. He's got starts. I think he's got 2 starts at Alabama in his career. I mean, the kid's, for a kid that, just kind of worked his way up, has played a lot of football for Tennessee. So he's a nice swing guy. Like if Cooper went down, that's probably who your center would be. They would probably swing him to center before they would go to the true freshman William Satterwhite, just to have more continuity and more experience out there. But yeah, it's an offensive line that, if healthy, is really solid. And I mean, so it's why Tennessee and Oklahoma battled it out for Lance Hurd. I mean, like both teams needed a guy like Lance Hurd. Fortunately, on this side, Tennessee was able to land him. They've easily been at Oklahoma playing against the Vols this week.
When Tennessee's got the ball, what is, you think, the biggest matchup advantage that they have, and what's the matchup where maybe Oklahoma has the advantage?
That's funny because I was getting ready to ask you guys the same thing. When I look at offensively with Tennessee, I just think the biggest advantage is Josh Heupel. I think the offense. I think that Oklahoma's defense is really good. Love where they're at linebacker. Love where they are in the back end. I would say that Tennessee's biggest advantage, though, is probably the offensive line. I think Oklahoma's defensive line is good, but I think Tennessee's offensive line is just a little bit better. But again, how does it, equate when you throw the crowd noise in? Like, does that even it out, right? Like, I mean, if you got a jittery offensive tackle, and Lance Hurd's played, but he's not played that much, and he gets out there and it's loud, and do they affect the game? I think that's what, if you're Oklahoma, you're banking on the crowd being that, that 12th man, so to speak, to kind of, get Tennessee, anybody that's kind of a little bit fidgety, get them all out of sorts, get to Nico's head. I think that's a big advantage, for Oklahoma in this game, just because Tennessee's not been on the road in the last few years. They've not been as good on the road as they can be.
Do you know why that is?
I
Or do you have
don't
a
know.
theory?
Well, if you go back, I mean, a lot of times, Florida was a disaster last year for a team that wasn't very good. But a lot of them, like when they lost at Missouri last year, I mean, Missouri ended up being a top 10 team and won the Cotton Bowl. I mean, I guess like Tennessee's lost to some quality opponents on the road. There's no shame in losing at Alabama. There's no shame in losing at Georgia. Most everybody loses those games. And so it's the head scratchers are at Florida last year, at South Carolina 2 years ago when you had one loss, and realistically you were still very much a legitimate shot to make the 4-team playoff at that point. So I mean, I don't know why, but Heupel has made it a point of emphasis. You go back to spring practice; they were working on crowd noise in spring. Who works on crowd noise in spring? It is March. You're like walking around campus and like, for the college kids, like, you're starting to see the skirts come out of the closet for the girls, and the boys are wearing shorts, and all of a sudden you're hearing, it's a terrible sound effect. But regardless, like it was, something you don't normally hear in March.
Looking at this offense compared to the Hendon Hooker offense, better, worse, about the same?
I would say similar.
Similar, okay.
A year ago, they threw it a lot side to side, and then they would take the occasional deep shot with Joe. They didn't work the middle of the field like they're working the middle of the field. They did not have the tight end room a year ago like they have now. They've done a complete overhaul of like the wide receiver core, the tight end room. Like it's just much deeper units. Like Tennessee's got 3 tight ends they feel very comfortable with. Last year there were 2, but when they got, you look at the experience in that room, it's really, really solid. The receiver room is much more dynamic than a year ago. I mean, the group that Nico played with in the Orange Bowl was, not nearly as dynamic, did not have speed, to it. It was just kind of just average, I thought. And now, here we are 9 months later, and, it feels like, he's got several targets to throw to, and they're only getting better as Matthews gets healthy off that hamstring. So I think it's just an overall deeper unit across the board.
Well, on the flip side, when Oklahoma's got the football and Tennessee's on defense, what are some of the matchups there? I mean, obviously Oklahoma's been banged up on the offensive line. That's an
Yeah.
understatement. So I imagine the defensive line has looked at the first couple of games and have to feel pretty confident.
Yeah, I mean, like Tennessee's defensive line is super confident. I mean, they routinely play 14 players. You go back to Rodney Garner's first couple of years here, and Matthew Butler played over 80 snaps in one game, over 60 in four additional games. Omari Thomas played over 60 in three or four games. Tennessee does not have a player through three games that has played 60 snaps yet. They played one has 59, the other has like 52 or 53, and then nobody else has even hit 50. Like that's the difference in the defensive line is they have so many quality bodies. When they rotate to the twos and threes, those threes couldn't start at most places. Like they're really, really deep on the D line. So like if you're an offensive line like Oklahoma, which is been gasping for air a little bit just because you're not super deep, like there's no kind of like break. Like it's a wave that just keeps coming and coming. It's like being out in the ocean and you're trying to get to shore, and that wave just keeps breaking on you every time. You can't make up any ground. The undertow's pulling you back out. That is the Tennessee defensive line. It's really really impressive to see. And yeah, I mean, I would think that that's the matchup that I think everybody's talked about all summer long. That like, can Oklahoma survive with their O line against Tennessee's D line?
Looking at the defense as a whole for the Vols, any area that you view as a weakness or any area you think that Oklahoma's offense will look at it and go, hey, we have to attack this?
Well, I think it has to be the secondary. I think Tennessee has done a nice job with corner. I still worry about their safeties. They've not been tested through 3 weeks. They played solid. Andre Turrentine and Will Brooks, and then Jacoby Thomas, the transfer from MTSU. But the corners, I think Jamal McCoy is playing as well as anybody out on the edge, the transfer from Oregon State. And then Ricky Gibson, who was banged up in fall camp, had, another hamstring, has been able to go the last two games and has been really, really good. They held him out of precaution of the Chattanooga game. So, I think you've got to attack, the back end. I think the safeties are the place I would start. But, the secondary overall would be the place that you wonder, like, how do they handle this type of environment? And can Jackson Arnold, when it's second and third and 8 or 9, can he do things with his legs that gets Tennessee out of sorts? Whether it's extend and find a receiver down the field to the back end, or Tennessee fans have seen this a lot over the years, give up, 3rd and 8, and like Matt Corral did in 2021 when he played against Tim Banks, and that's pick up 9 yards, first down. 3rd and 6, 7 yards, first down with his legs. Like little things like that, I think are ways that Oklahoma can extend drives, stay on the field, and score points.
All right, what type of game you think we're going to have? Is this going to be a lower scoring game? Are we going to have a shootout? One-sided game? How do you see it playing out?
I don't know. I think a lot of it depends on that first quarter, maybe even first half. How does Tennessee handle the noise? I think if you're Oklahoma, you're banking on the crowd affecting the game, affecting Tennessee, putting you in a position, to maybe steal a touchdown or two with a turnover and have a short field. If Tennessee gets out of the gates quick, and they've been a traditionally they've been a fast starting team. If they get out of the gates quick, I think that's bad for Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma's got to hope Tennessee stumbles out of the gate here. They've got to drag Tennessee down in the mud. To me, they don't want to shoot out because I think Tennessee's very comfortable, in that world. But I don't think Tennessee's defense would allow them to play in a shootout. I think you've got to drag them down into the mud and hope that this game stays, low 20s. Like I think if you're Oklahoma, you can't let Tennessee score more than 24, or I think it becomes harder to win because Tennessee defensively, I think, will have an advantage in the game.
I think that's if OU can hold that offense to 24, you live with that, Austin.
Yeah.
I mean, you absolutely live with that. Now, You making the trip to Norman? You coming?
I will be there. I will be there.
Yeah.
The last road game I missed was 2003 Miami, which was a bad one to miss because Tennessee beat they beat Sean Taylor and Miami 10-6 that day down at the Orange Bowl.
Wow.
Nice. Well, we appreciate you coming on, man, and we'll see you Saturday.
That sounds good, guys. I appreciate you.
It's going to be a good one, Ted.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. The hope is that we haven't seen the stadium rocking like this in a long time. Hopefully, we can turn it into something.
Appreciate Austin for that. That was great stuff. All right, let's move on to our Week 4 college football previews. But first,
Insurica has launched a new digital agency introducing Insurica Direct. Whether you're in Oklahoma or anywhere across the U.S., they've got you covered. From small business insurance and health insurance for your employees to insurance for individuals like home, auto, and even Medicare supplements. Insurica Direct's got it all. Start your journey today at insuricadirect.com. Remember, at Insurica, we specialize in you.
And head to opolisclothing.com for our podcast merchandise and the best OU gear out there. That's OPOLIS clothing.com and use promo code TED, TED, for 10% off. Opolisclothing.com, promo code TED for 10% off. Buttery soft and 10% off. While we will be focused on Norman, there's a big one in Stillwater.
Yeah.
On Saturday as well. 3 p.m. You've got number 12 Utah taking on number 14 Oklahoma State. Currently, Utah is a 2-point road favorite. Isn't it great that the state of Oklahoma is the center of the college football universe this weekend?
It is. I love it. 2 really good football games. You got conference newcomers taking on conference mainstays. So I don't know. It's going to be really cool. And Oklahoma State's got a big challenge, man. They got to get their running game going, don't they?
It feels like last year for them. But in these, there's some main questions heading into this game. I think the top question is, how effective will Cam Rising be?
Right.
Had the throwing hand injury. It sounds like he is going to play, but he missed last week's game for him. I would assume he's going to be close to 100%. And if he is, I think Oklahoma State could be in trouble in this one because they look really good at the line of scrimmage right now. And I keep thinking about last year for Ollie Gordon, where he didn't have that many opportunities to start the season, but then he started getting more, and that thing just really opened up. They went to some more gap scheme runs, and the floodgates opened for him. But a lot of the time, it was kind of Ollie Gordon doing something special. Not all the time, but a lot of the time. Is the Utah defense really where your run game gets right? Do you know what I'm saying?
Probably not. Now, Bowman has done a really good job. I'm sure the focus for teams coming in has been, if we could shut down Ollie Gordon, we could shut down Oklahoma State's offense. And, it's right to feel that way. But Bowman's done a pretty good job slinging it around. I'm sure they're getting some heavy boxes, trying to stop the run, and he's been able to make them pay. And, if that's what Utah does, you got to make them pay through the air as well. It's going to be by far the most difficult challenge for their offense that they've had this year.
If you're Utah, you're feeling really good about things if you can limit Ollie Gordon and Brennan Presley.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can live with any other guy for Oklahoma State beating you, making big plays in one-on-one situations. But Alan Bowman, he's going to have himself a day. I think the Pokes passing attack is going to be – it's going to determine whether they win or lose this football game. I think I just trust Utah's defense more than Oklahoma State's.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's going to be an awesome environment in Stillwater.
I feel like this is going to be like similar to the Arkansas game, not the way that it plays out, but we're left scratching our heads at the end of it saying, how in the world did Oklahoma State win that football game? And I don't know how it's going to happen. Like, to me, everything except obviously being in Stillwater, I think the favor on offense and defense leans towards Utah, and you could even say maybe it leans heavily towards Utah. Um, but it's college football; it just doesn't always play out like that. So Oklahoma State has found a way to win football games in a variety of ways, and I don't know. I think Utah's the better football team right now, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they can come into Stillwater and get a win.
Is it weird that I think that turf in Stillwater gets hotter than the surface of the sun?
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be hot on Saturday. And that's just not how the weather is right now in Salt Lake City. It's just not.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see what that second half looks like. Could we see Utah just get cooked by that sun and that turf and maybe get a little worn down? I don't know. But I do think that could play a bit of a factor in this football game. I don't know. Could we see Utah fade a little bit late? We'll see. But I do think Utah has the better football team going into this one. But the best thing about college football is it's not always the best team that wins the game. And I just cannot wait to watch this football game. I think it's gonna be a really good one.
I do too. And final thing is Oklahoma State, like, it's not a huge stadium. Well, it holds what, right around 50,000, I think, maybe a little bit above. It's loud and it's intense. That student section is right on top of the benches over there on Utah. I mean, I think that's going to be a factor too. I think Utah's the better football team, but I think Oklahoma State finds a way to win the game.
I'll take Utah. I'll
mean,
take Utah, and I don't feel good about it.
Yeah.
I don't feel good. You know how we feel about Mike Gundy. Guy's a heck of a football coach. Home dog. Do I feel good taking Utah? Not at all. But I just have a hard time believing that Ollie Gordon, that run game, is going to get going against this defense. And I can't get some of the chunk plays from the Arkansas game out of my head for that Oklahoma State defense. Just getting gashed and gashed. I'm picking Utah, but I'll be honest, I hope Oklahoma State wins. I hope we have just absolute elation in the state of Oklahoma on Saturday with an Oklahoma State win and then an Oklahoma win to cap off the night. That is my dream.
That'd be big. 2 top 15 wins in the same day, back to back. That would be nice.
There will be some CFB sickos that hit both of these games. You go to this one, take off when maybe it looks like it's decided, and maybe that's not to the last couple of drives of the game. If that's the case, you catch the last 2.5 quarters, maybe 3 quarters of OU Tennessee, at least the last half. You can catch them both, cruise. No doubt.
Yeah, everyone's going to be jammed in that stadium. Should be able to cruise right up to the outside and walk in. So yeah, that's a nice day. That's a long day, but that'd be fun.
There's going to be some people that do it. Guarantee it.
Dan, can you imagine being in the heat for that Oklahoma State game and then saddling up to do it again? 2 days.
There's substances for that type of stuff, Ted.
That's true. That's true.
Moving on to the next game. Really interesting one. Number 11 USC travels to number 18 Michigan. This game will be 2:30 on CBS. USC currently a 5.5-point road favorite at the Big House. First and foremost, just going to be an awesome uniform matchup.
Yeah.
Just going to be beautiful to look at. But big news heading into this game. Sharon Moore has decided to go with Alex Orji over Davis Warren at the quarterback position. And Ted, will this just unlock Michigan's offense? I don't know. The guy couldn't start over Davis Warren to start the season. And we saw how that guy struggled at the quarterback position. So I really don't know what to expect from Alex Orji other than him being more involved in the rushing attack.
Yeah, I unlock or unleash the offense. Doubt it, but it is going to help. You bring a quarterback that can run. I think Michigan already has a pretty good chance to control the line of scrimmage, even though USC's improved on the defensive line. But you add a quarterback that can run to the mix, and it helps you along the line of scrimmage even more. So I do think that it can help them. If you are going to be a heavy run team and then a play action and push it down the field team, I think it's the right type of guy to play. If you can have a guy in the mix that's affecting things more often than a quarterback that's handing it off the majority of the time and is not nearly as involved or as big of a threat, then it's a way to help swing the numbers back into your favor and become more efficient doing things that way. So we'll see. I'm curious about their defense. Really solid defense. They've got a bunch of big players. They're really good across the line of scrimmage, but I don't know how they're going to be able to match up with what Lincoln Riley does. Lincoln Riley's really good at spreading you out and finding whatever the weakness is and attacking it through the passing game.
I would assume that Michigan's defense views this as a bit of a redemption opportunity after Texas carved them up.
Yeah.
But USC had a bye before this week. Lincoln Riley has had 2 weeks to prepare, and that's not an ideal situation for Michigan's defense. Because let's be real, the guy knows how to dial it up. And Miller Moss has looked really solid in the first couple games this season for the Trojans. And he's got playmakers at wide receiver. I mean, Kyron Hudson, Zachariah Branch. I like McCree, the tight end. He's impressed me. But I do wonder about the offensive line for USC. They held up against LSU in the opener. I was impressed. I did not expect them to look as good as they did with how they struggled a year ago. Now, they retooled, and I liked what I saw from them against LSU. But that Michigan defensive front, it's a step up.
Yeah.
So how does that USC offensive line hold up? Can they block them consistently? If they can, I think USC's walking out of there with a double-digit victory because I just do not trust Michigan's offense to produce.
Yeah.
Even against a USC defense that I think is okay.
Yeah.
I think they're being compared to the last couple of years, which was god-awful. But when I look at this game, I kind of view it similarly as Michigan's matchup with Texas. I don't think USC's as good as Texas, but I trust them to be more dynamic offensively than Michigan. So I think USC's going to win the football game.
Yeah. I don't know how to. I was shocked with the way that Texas was able to run through Michigan's defense. I mean, I saw a mock draft yesterday that had Michigan had 3 players in the top 10 on defense. Both of their inside tackles and their corner were all in the top 10.
Well, I watched Texas's center block both of them all game long.
I know it. So what I'm saying is that's the talent is there, and that Lincoln Riley with Texas playing first, and there's some similarities I think between Lincoln Riley and Sarkisian with the way that they build their offense. I'm not saying their offenses are similar. I'm saying the approach of those two coordinators is similar, and seeing what Sark did to that Michigan defense, it was a big blessing for Lincoln Riley to be able to see that because he's going to be able to build some stuff off of that and find some weaknesses in there. I do not feel actually feel terrible about it. I think it's a stupid pick, but I'm taking Michigan.
You're just hoping that, maybe Michigan's offense can go with a similar formula to Bama in the first half of the season last year.
Yeah.
And now the offensive systems are very, very different. Don't get me wrong, but it was a lot of run game and QB run game with Jalen Milroe, and then chuck it down the field.
Yeah.
I don't think that would be a bad formula for Alex Orji at quarterback with the way that it sounds like he struggles in the intermediate area with his passing. But I think it's either going to be Michigan was so physical, they dominated USC at the point of attack, and USC just couldn't do anything about it.
Right.
Or it's going to be USC's really good. Yeah. They got a squad.
Hey, and even though Michigan is down as a defending champ, it'd still be a huge game to be able first Big Ten game on the road, like into a place like that, to get that win. That would be a big time win for Lincoln Riley. I can't get the LSU game out of my head. I don't know how good LSU is, and they were really. I thought it was going to be a rout. It looked like they were ready to rout USC in the beginning of that second half. So I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. I think it's going to be a great game. I do.
Yeah, I trust USC's offense.
Styles. Yeah.
But hey, it's the line of scrimmage game. If they can't block those guys from Michigan, then it's going to be a long day.
Coaching quarterback's big, though. Coaching quarterback.
Well, if it's coach and quarterback, then it's pretty easy to pick one side.
That's what I'm saying. The only
no offense to our guy Sharon Moore, Boomer Sooner Sharon. Let's go.
Yeah, it's I mean, Michigan has the advantage on the line of scrimmage, but is it enough?
Yeah. All right, let's hit one more. A Friday night lights game between number 24 Illinois and number 22 Nebraska. 7 p.m. Friday night. Nebraska currently a 9.5-point favorite. The Raiola effect. 9.5-point. Now I'm really interested in this game. I love when we get like this little one game on Friday night with a little sizzle like this one. But this could be your type of game, Ted. Both teams built on defense and physicality.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's going to be a physical one. Illinois, there's a solid football team now. They coming off a nice little win. But boy, Nebraska, I bet that place, how electric have their home games been so far this year? That one's going to be awesome on a Friday night. I don't know. I'm shocked at that line. Illinois is a scrappy team. They usually can muck it up a little bit, playing some low-scoring games, solid defensively. I mean, he's the best player. He's been really solid up to this point. Can he continue to be smart with the football, make some big-time plays for him? I think their offense can be the difference, but 9.5. If they have a 2-touchdown win over Illinois, that's going to be impressive for them.
No doubt. It probably comes down to whether or not Illinois can get that running game going. And I love their running game. A lot of outside zone for the Illini, Ted.
Yeah.
And Caden Fegan has been solid so far for them at the running back position, but I really like Nebraska's defense. Mm-hmm. That group is physical. They're old. They fly around. And if they can make Illinois one-dimensional, if they can make Luke Altmaier have to drop back and beat them, they're going to be in a great spot. But, yeah, I look at this game and I go, one team's got Dylan Raiola in the better defense.
Yeah.
So I think that Nebraska, you combine that with what the atmosphere is going to be like in Lincoln for this one. I like Nebraska big in
Run
this
away with
game.
it. Yeah.
Is
It,
there a bunch of momentum building with the Cornhuskers? That's how it feels.
it feels like it. And I mean, it's been years and years in the making, but there is like a little, you have to be careful with it because there is such a swell of momentum behind them. Is it real? Are the nuts and bolts actually there? And so far, it it has looked like it. And Raiola he's played, way more consistent and smart than you would typically expect a true freshman right out of the gate. So I mean, that's going to be the key. If he is smart, accurate with the football, hits on some big plays, but doesn't put the ball in jeopardy, then I think you could be right.
Have you looked at Nebraska's schedule?
Yeah, it's easy. I
They
mean,
win this one.
considering what it could have been.
Yeah, they win this one and they'll be 4-0. Their next three at Purdue, Rutgers, they've got to bye, then at Indiana, who playing some pretty good football.
Yeah.
Under Signetti, but that would mean 7-0 is very, very possible before they go to Columbus on October 26th.
Bowl eligible maybe in a couple of weeks here. I mean, it's crazy.
Would we
Right out of
even
the
be
gate?
able to? Will we be able to handle that much Nebraska hype?
I don't know. I'll tell you. I mean, I know they're a longtime rival, but I love it. I think college football's better when Nebraska's good. I mean, some people may not like that, but I'm actually pulling for them.
I think this is probably the best thing you can say about Nebraska right now. Last year, it caused me physical pain to watch them offensively because of their quarterback situation. And this year, they're kind of appointment television for me with Raiola.
I know.
I'm finding myself DVRing Nebraska games.
I mean, what they're 3-0 right now. Typically, they've turned the ball over like 30 times up to this point in the season.
Maybe Matt Rule does know what he's doing.
Yeah, they look good, man. They look solid.
All right, let's finish up with our winners and losers of the week. As always, Ted, kick us off. Who do you have as your winner of the week?
History book watch. Shohei Ohtani he's close. 48 homers, 48 stolen bases, trying to become the first 50-50 player in history. There's 11 games left. He had a little bit of a drought, but then hit a home run last night. So 2 homers away, 2 stolen bases away. How do you feel about it, Gabe? Is he going to hit it?
I would be shocked if he didn't. And it's a great reminder. This dude is insanely good at baseball.
Insanely good. Yep.
He's not even pitching this year, which was the whole other element that made him the most ridiculous baseball player ever. And it's like he went, oh, I don't have to worry about pitching this season. Let me just do something that's never been done before in the sport. Guy's insane, dude. It's ridiculous.
It's crazy. Which kind of brings me to my frustration is Major League Baseball does a horrible job at showcasing their talent. I mean, unless you're a baseball fan, I mean, there's some general sports fans out there that see and know some baseball stuff, but if you're walking around and you just ask a random person off the street if they know who like Aaron Rodgers is, or I don't know, pick any top football player, most people are going to know the person. There's a lot of people who have no idea who Shohei Ohtani is. And that's Major League Baseball's fault.
Agreed. I don't, and it feels like it's been that way for years. I mean, how many years in a row was it? Hey, do you even know what Mike Trout looks like? Do you know what his voice sounds like? And maybe some of that was on him, but Ohtani is, I mean, he is a generational guy. And also, there's no reason that Bobby Witt Jr. isn't famous across the United States.
What a year. Incredible.
Incredible player. Like he's young, got a great personality. He should be more famous. Major League Baseball, do better.
Yeah, it's baseball's so weird. It's and it doesn't help that it's so long and like the season starts off as like NBA, March Madness, all of that stuff is important. So it's like, it's not important yet. But then by the time it does get important, it's like football's going and you're just never going to be able to outdo that. So I don't know. It's just in deep summer, everyone's taking vacations, and I don't know the schedule for them doesn't match up very well on the calendar, but they still do a very poor job at showcasing their top players.
What do you think that Ohtani 50th home run ball is going to be worse? He's going to get 50 stolen bases, right? But people are going to be busting out algorithms to try to figure out what game he's going to hit the 50th and where it's going to go. And they're going to be buying tickets there.
There's only 11 games left. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. A bunch of money. Who knows anymore with the memorabilia business? That stuff is insane.
Who do you have as your loser of the week?
I had to go with, I don't know, I guess say fantasy owners or um, people that love high flying offense in the NFL. Listen to this, Gabe. In 2019, there was 105 touchdowns through the first, what are we, 2 weeks of the season. In 2020, 110, 21, 110, 2022, 105. These next two numbers are alarming. In 2023, 86, so down about 20 touchdowns. And in 2024, 69.
Whoa.
So you're down from 110 to 69.
Nice.
That is a dramatic fall off.
Passing touchdowns?
Passing touchdowns.
So what do we think the issue is?
Well, I mean, there's a bunch of different theories. Um, I go, I lean towards the theory of kind of what Tom Brady has been saying for the last couple of years. Um, the game has been really dumbed down for quarterbacks, and I think that's a result of how massively dumbed down it has been made in college. And then you've got like a different rule set in college that allows you to play a totally different offense than what the rules in the NFL allow you to play. And I don't think the young quarterbacks are prepared for it. And you've had the old guard who played in the old systems exclusively where you developed, you learned defenses, you learned like everything was run through the quarterback at the line of scrimmage and not signaled in from the sideline. Like those guys played that way in high school, college, and the pros, and they've all phased out now. And I think there's a big breakdown. Well, and let's be honest, and you've talked about offensive line play and quarterback play because of the stark difference in how the game is played at the two different levels.
The RPO system's evil.
It's evil.
It's evil. It's ruining NFL Sundays.
It is.
Maybe that is what will force the NFL. Not enough points being scored in the NFL is what's going to make them change the illegal man downfield rule in college and take away the RPO system.
I would not take that. I would not bet against that. The NFL, I mean, they've played on the like points bring revenue. I put people in the seats, have people watching. Like that's what people want to see. That's been their whole thing for years. That's why they constantly change the rules to make it easier on offense. But I would not take that away. I think that is a very strong possibility in that, which it needs to happen anyways. It is a stupid rule. It's credit to coaches for finding the loophole, but it's not that hard to say, oh, they found the loophole. Of course, you can't be downfield on a passing play. Let's change the rule. I mean, I think that should happen. Will it? I have no idea.
I hope it does. We've talked about this a lot. Oh, I do have one other theory, and that's just defenses have caught up. That's kind of the cycle of football.
Mm-hmm.
Offenses, they figure out something, or they change what they're doing, and then the defenses have to catch up. And I feel like the defenses have probably caught up to the analytics of throwing the ball more. They've gone with different body types at different positions to try to take away some of the passing game. And I think the next cycle is we're going to start seeing a lot more big personnel groupings for offenses, and we're going to see teams go power run game, and the defenses will adjust, and it'll just go back and forth. That's like the cycle of offense versus defense in football. I feel like that's how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, you've had a couple of teams that have kind of navigated like the big personnel stuff. San Francisco did it with Harbaugh, and they're doing it again now. There's been a couple other teams that have done that, but league wide, you really haven't seen it, because it's easier and more exciting and everything else to try and spread it out, throw it. So we'll see what happens.
Well, it's easier and more exciting to spread it out and throw it. You've got a good quarterback.
Yeah, that's true.
But look at some of these young quarterbacks that are showing. I mean, Bryce Young got benched.
Yeah.
Bo Nix has looked not good. That answer, well, I dropped back and then threw it to the other team. Incredible answer. Amazing. But yeah, you're seeing some of these young guys really, really struggle. So some teams may start saying, hey, let's hand that thing off a little more.
Right. I'd also say that it has to factor in at some point to some degree, like as they've collectively bargained a lot of things, the players do less and less football. Less football practice, more walk through in jerseys and shorts. So I think that has to have some type of effect. And I'm not saying that you go back to 3-a-days or anything stupid like that, but I think they've maybe touched the low end of what you can get away with and have good football.
Yeah, and then you got a lot of guys on offense not playing in the preseason.
Yep.
So they don't get those kind of like tune-up reps. So yeah, but that is a really big drop-off in passing touchdowns.
Dramatic drop-off.
Yeah. Let's get to my winner and loser. But first, we know we've got some nicotine pouch lovers out there that listen, which is why we'd like to introduce y'all to our friends at Lucy. Go to lucy.co. That's lucy.co and use promo code breakdown at checkout for 20% off your first order. That's lucy.co and use promo code breakdown. Lucy's pouches come in a variety of strengths from 4 milligrams all the way up to 12 milligrams. 4s are all we need. Throw them in out on the golf course. I know there's some more hardcore people out there. Go order you some 12s. And they offer a variety of flavors, including classics like wintergreen and mint, but they also have got apple ice, espresso, and mango. And if pouches aren't your thing, Lucy's got gum as well. So why Lucy instead of Zen? Lucy delivers to your house. That's why. Easy choice. It's about the convenience, baby. And you can even set up a subscription to get your favorites delivered every 30 days. Go to lucy.co and use promo code breakdown for 20% off your first order. Lucy products are for adults of legal age, and every order is age verified. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Had one of my buddies try Lucy. He's a Zen guy. Had him try Lucy.
Yeah.
The actual quote, superior oral experience for
There you
Lucy.
go.
So yeah,
There you
go give
What
it
a
a try,
quote.
people. My winner of the week, Tua Tagovailoa, the NFL, probably both. Dolphins put him on IR, so he's going to miss at least the next 4 games. And the reason I have it as my winner of the week, like that situation is, I'm tired of hearing people tell another man what to do with his life. I'm sick of it.
Yeah.
So I think it's best for all involved that at this moment in time, that Tua kind of just disappears for a couple weeks so we can stop hearing people get up on a soapbox and tell another man what to do with his football career. It shocks me at how many people are comfortable telling him what is right for him to do. I don't understand it, Ted. And listen, I don't want to see Tua get any more concussions. I don't think any of us do. But if he wants to continue to play and go out there and accept the risks that come with it, then fine. It's his choice, man. I'm not telling this guy he needs to retire. I don't understand anyone that is. It's his choice.
Yeah, there's this in this industry, you have to have an opinion on everything, right? It's like, oh, he should do this, he needs to do that. This team, needs to. You have to have an opinion on everything. I don't have an opinion on this one. I don't know. But here's the thing. The NFL never should have lied about long-term damage with concussions. Stops right there. We now know there's long-term damage with concussions, right? We've educated the players. They educate them whenever they get to the league. At that point, in my opinion, the league is out of it. It's up to each individual guy. There's a lot of money to be made. There's a lot of money to be made doing something that isn't even close to the riskiest job there is out there. I mean, there's a ton of jobs that are way more risky than this. So if he wants to keep playing, you are 100% right. That is on him. If he wants to retire, on him. Couldn't blame him.
His choice. I just can't stand the people. Oh, I can't watch Tua play. I'm too nervous. Like, what happens if he gets hit? Dude, it's his decision. He knows what he's signing up for.
Yep.
Get over yourself. So he just signed a 4-year, $212 million deal. If the guy wants to continue to play, I get it. And all these people are trying to figure out, what's fully guaranteed? What's the injury guarantee look like? I think people are wasting their time. I think the guy's going to continue to play football.
Yeah.
Because he's making a lot of money and he wants to play. And he knows the risks. He played every game last year and he was just fine.
Yeah.
Listen, I know that they've happened in prime time and that has kind of magnified things. I get that.
They've been loud. His concussions have been a big
They're
deal.
bad ones. There's no doubt. They're bad ones. But it's his decision. Telling all these people say, "Oh man, you got to think of your family." Yeah, you don't. Yeah, he knows that. Leave the guy alone. Let him make his decision. Until then, the pride of Kansas State, Skylar Thompson, now the starter for the Dolphins.
Hey,
we'll see.
I mean, the real decision isn't necessarily. I mean, obviously, Tua has a decision to make. Whatever. The real decision, though, is the Dolphins. If you forecast that this is like it's going to be a continual problem, you don't want to pay your quarterback what 50-some million, $53 million a year if he's not going to be available of all your games, and increasingly maybe less and less. That's to me that's the real big decision is how do they navigate it?
Over the cap has been diving into the guarantees, and then what would the cap hit be if he didn't come back? How would the injury designation work? There's a lot going on there,
Big
but
formula. Yeah.
I think he's come back and play, whether it makes someone uncomfortable or not to watch. I think he's gonna come back and play football, but we'll see. My loser of the week, Florida State. I'm not trying to pile on. Its season is not going well. 0-3 start, fresh off a loss to Memphis, which, by the way, head man at Memphis, Ryan Silverfield, hell of a football coach. Silverfield was in Detroit. He was an assistant O-line coach when I was there. Love that guy. Love watching him have success. He's the best. But back to Florida State, 0-3. Could be staring 0-4 in the face with an undefeated Cal team coming to Tallahassee that has looked much better than people anticipated.
Yeah.
But the reason they're my loser of the week, have you seen the renewed talks between Florida State and Clemson? But I'm focused on Florida State here. Have you seen this? Florida State talking to the ACC again?
I've seen a little bit. I have not gone in depth.
Here's what Florida State and Clemson want. They will allegedly, according to multiple reports, will drop their lawsuits against the conference if the ACC will give a bigger revenue share for schools that have the biggest brand valuations and the best TV ratings. It doesn't sound that crazy, right? Unequal revenue sharing, and we'll see if this is something that happens. But I vividly remember their athletic director saying it should be based on success on the field.
Right.
Conference championships, college football playoff appearances. What happened to that?
Pivot.
Now we're all about brand valuation.
Pivot. We're pivoting to brand valuation.
I believe Michael Alford called it success initiatives back in 2023. Now we're talking brand valuation. What happened? Why would there be such a difference? What's going on? I'm confused.
Yeah.
The timing's funny. That's it. The timing of this is hilarious. They stink, and now they want it based on brand valuation and not how things are going on the field. The timing, it's just hilarious timing.
No, it is, and it's way easier to have that conversation when you're 15-0 and you're walking around with your chest out, right? It's like Tennessee, and I'm sure you saw the 10% talent fee that's going on all their tickets.
Yeah.
Hey, do you think they would announce that if they were 0-3 like Florida State? No, probably not. Probably hold off on that one a little while. So timing absolutely matters on all things. So that's funny.
Yeah, it is. It almost makes it look like they looked around at the SEC and the Big Ten and look at how their season is going and call the ACC and say, hey, you know what? This isn't that bad. Let's talk. Let's get this figured out. I do think the TV ratings piece of it, that's a really complicated formula.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of variables there, but I guess the grant of rights is part of this negotiation. I guess it could end as early as 2030 as part of this whole deal. So it's very, very interesting. But with how the season is going for Florida State, and they made this big stink, we're leaving the ACC. You guys are the worst. They've had such a bad start to the season. Now they're trying to stay in the ACC and change some of the things. It's funny.
Yeah, and I mean you're right. Like looking over at the rankings, and what is there what 7 of the top 8 or something are SEC teams, or is it 6 of the top 7 are SEC teams? It's like, are you sure that's where you want to go right now? Maybe not. Maybe not.
Birthday shout outs. Happy 4th birthday to Atlas Perry.
Happy 11th birthday to Knox Dillsaver.
Happy 52nd birthday to Denny Saylor.
Happy birthday to Riley Curry.
And happy birthday to Carter Moody. Man, I hope they play well on Saturday night.
You and me both.
Come on, boys. Let's go. Episode 458 in the books. We'll have a new podcast that'll drop on Sunday. I assume that's going to be the most listened to podcast we've had in quite some time.
One way or the other, probably.
One way or the other. Just a reminder, please subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We've got another In the Weeds video on there right now from the Tulane game, and then we got an In the Weeds interview coming with Stanford Steve on Thursday. So make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. Until next time, we appreciate y'all for listening. Do what you always do, Oklahoma. Take care of each other.